Sophia paced back and forth across the apartment. She couldn't believe what was happening. How could she believe that her husband, with whom she had spent 15 years together, had left? "I'm leaving. I love someone else." "I'm sorry," he said. Turns out, he had packed his things in advance. He was prepared. And she had suspected something was wrong. He would linger at work, talk about unplanned inspections, meetings with friends. She believed. Or rather, she wanted to believe. How many days has it been since he left? 3 or more. Sophia tried to remember, pacing the room. She reached the window, turned around, and walked back to the door. Just 11 steps. She mechanically counted them each time. Yes, our apartment is small. Where is this from? Seems like it's from a movie. She couldn't remember, just as she couldn't remember when she last ate. Sophia took 5 more steps and stood in the hallway in front of the mirror. A pale, exhausted face, red, swollen eyes from crying. What a sight! "But at least I've lost weight," she grimaced without joy, but the smile faded immediately, the corners of her mouth drooping sadly. "You're to blame yourself. I told you, you should act like an actress, give your husband a shake, make him jealous." Sophia remembered her recent conversation with her mother. "Mom, instead of supporting me, you're giving me instructions." Sophia couldn't hold back hysterical tears. "All right, Liam will stay with me until you pull yourself together. He doesn't need to see how you're falling apart. Maybe Oliver will come back once he's had his fill," her mother said. Mom left and took Liam with her. And now Sophia was alone. Completely. Maybe it's better that Liam is with Mom. I wouldn't be able to pretend, and he would suffer too. What if Oliver does come back? Sophia even paused at the thought. A phone caught her eye. Where are my friends? Why aren't they calling, comforting me? But she had no friends left. They had drifted apart. And those whose numbers were in her address book were her husband's friends. They probably wouldn't call to offer sympathy. She scrolled through the address book, deleting the numbers of friends. Her finger paused on Oliver's number. Sophia turned off her phone. She walked to the window and hugged herself. She remembered grabbing her husband's hand, trying to stop him, hold on to him. And then she yelled obscenities and let go. Silly. She should have played it cool. But back then, she didn't have the luxury of thinking about how she should behave. You just can't throw away the years of life together. They've seeped into the things, the atmosphere of the apartment, into memory. I need to pull myself together. If only someone could advise me on how to do it. If there was someone nearby whom I could share the pain with, just talk it out, maybe it would be easier. Nobody needs my pain. Everyone has their own problems. Sophia paced the room again. Her gaze fell on the medicine package on the table. When did I take it out of the cabinet? A wave of revulsion swept over her. She grabbed the box and threw it into the corner. The package with the pills fell behind the sofa. Let it stay there, so it doesn't tempt me. She entered the bathroom and stared at herself in the mirror, forgetting why she came in. Her hair hung unattractively and bleakly over her face. Sophia undressed and stepped into the shower. As she dried her hair with a blow dryer in front of the hallway mirror, the doorbell rang. At first, she thought the hair dryer had broken in addition to everything else. She turned it off and sniffed. There was no smell of burning. Above her head, the piercing ring sounded again. Finally, someone came to support her. Sophia opened the door. A man stood on the threshold in a black jacket, holding a briefcase. She looked at him in surprise and remained silent. The man also said nothing, apparently waiting for her to invite him in or ask questions. "Did you apply for cable television installation?" he finally asked. For some reason, Sophia glanced back, as if someone might be behind her, calling the technician. "No. We already have cable installed," she said, not realizing she was still saying we, referring to her and her husband, a family that hadn't existed for several days. "How so? Is this apartment number 69? The man clarified. "You've got the address wrong. We have 4 buildings with the same number, just different letters." It's often confused, Sophia brushed her still damp hair from her face. "Aw, I see," the man said. "So you don't need any help then?" "Actually, I can do a lot of things. I specialize more in electrical work though." The man seemed reluctant to leave. "Well," Sophia began, then hesitated. "I do need help, but I'm not sure." "No problem at all. Show me what needs to be done," the man said, taking a step towards her. Sophia instinctively stepped back. The man interpreted it as an invitation to enter and cross the threshold. He placed his briefcase on the hallway floor, took off his jacket, and removed his shoes. Then he looked questioningly at Sophia. "Please, come into the kitchen," she invited, and followed him. The man stopped in the middle of the kitchen and looked around. Sophia hurried to explain. "No, there's nothing to repair. Just sit with me," Sophia said, lighting the stove under the kettle and sitting down at the table. The man sat across from her. He was wearing a knitted sweater, so cozy and homey that it squeezed her heart. How many times had she wanted to knit one like that for Oliver, but it never worked out. Either she didn't have enough time or something distracted her. "Did your wife knit this?" she asked, unable to take her eyes off the dark blue sweater. "Huh?" The man looked at himself in confusion. "No, my mom." "Did your husband leave you?" he suddenly asked. "Is it that obvious?" Sophia grimaced. "Not overly so," he replied. "But your eyes look sad. You're alone, yet there are plenty of men's things in the apartment." "My husband will be home from work soon," Sophia lied for some reason. "You know, I often wanted to be alone. And now I realize I can't be alone." She stood up, went to the window, and turned her back to the man. "2 years ago, my wife left me. She said she was tired of living paycheck to paycheck. She met someone online, took our daughter, and went to Germany to an old and wealthy German man," he said. "And is she happy there?" Sophia turned to the man. He shrugged. "She says she's happy. She calls sometimes. I miss my daughter terribly. I took on extra work. In the evenings, I install cable. I still can't sit alone within these 4 walls. You women think everything is easy for us. But we men, we suffer too. I started drinking, but I stopped in time. So, everything will be okay. Not right away, but it will get easier over time." The kettle whistled, releasing a cloud of steam from its spout. Sophia didn't notice, lost in thought over the man's words. He got up and turned off the gas. Then he took charge, placing 2 cups on the table and pouring the tea. "Do you have children?" he asked, taking a sip from his cup and wincing from the heat. "A son. My mother took him in for now," Sophia replied, not looking at him and not touching her tea. "And you know what? Let me show you a trick." "Come with me," he said, getting up and heading into the room. Sophia wanted to stop him, but for some reason, she followed. He explained something, switched channels on the television, and told her about it. Gradually, Sophia was distracted from her thoughts, becoming more attentive to his explanations, asking questions. Well, you found a replacement for me quickly, Oliver's voice came from the doorway. Sophia, startled, turned sharply and blinked in confusion. She had wished so much for her husband to return, and here he stood in the doorway, yet she didn't feel glad to see him for some reason. He's a technician, connecting cable television, she hastily explained. Why does it need connecting? We already have it. Or did something happen while I was gone? Oliver sneered. I see you're disheveled, in a robe, smelling of shower gel. And where's our son? Oliver puffed out his chest and took a few steps towards the technician. All right, get out of here. He's the one connecting cable. Sophia blocked her husband's path, but he pushed her aside. Weren't you the one who left? Left your wife and son. Why did you come back so quickly? Or were you kicked out? The man challenged Oliver. They looked like two roosters ready to fight. I'm going to. Oliver swung at the technician, but the man intercepted his hand and twisted it backward. Oliver bent over, crying out in pain. Let go! Who do you think you are? He yelled. I'm the technician, installing and setting up cable television. I'll let go if you stop swinging fists, the man said, clearly outweighing Oliver and towering over him. All right, I won't let go, groaned Oliver. The man released him. Oliver straightened up, rubbing his hand. He shot a glare at Sophia and left. What's with you two meddling in my affairs? Who asked you to intervene? Sophia shouted and ran after her husband, but soon returned, upset and angry. She brushed a strand of long-dried hair from her face. I'm sorry, the man said, pulling a business card from his trouser pocket and placing it on the TV stand. Call if you need help. Sophia didn't escort him out. When the front door slammed shut, she picked up the card and read, Fast Internet, HD quality TV. Affordable connection. Technical Master Jacob Madison. The next day, she called him and apologized. He invited her to a cafe. And a month later, despite Oliver's pleas to start over, Sophia filed for divorce. 8 months later, Jacob's wife returned from Germany with their daughter. Her wealthy old man had passed away. All his property and money went to his ex-wife and adult children. She returned to America to her ex-husband. But Sophia and Jacob had already married and had no regrets about it. Somewhere, gunshots rang out, the country underwent changes, the economy crumbled, and two people met to never part again. When you've been betrayed, it feels like your life has collapsed. But it turns out, it hasn't even begun. That's how it goes.